What happens when nobody believes anything that they see or hear online? That's what Charlamagne the God is going to predict as AI continues, but I think that future is happening today. This is the Future of Media podcast. I'm your host, Walter Gainer II, your friendly neighborhood strategist, and I like to pay attention to what's happening right now so I can prepare for the future. I mean, it's going to affect everything I do, both as a media professional and a content creator. I got to know what's happening if I'm going to be all right, and I hope that you're paying attention too. Now, I saw a quote, right? It was from Charlamagne the God. He was recently on Bob Pittman's podcast, Myth and Magic. Now, Bob Pittman, he's a CEO of iHeart, right? They did this whole live show, it was a whole conversation between the two of them, and it was pretty interesting. But there was a quote from Charlamagne that started to pick up a lot of steam and conversation in the headlines and the news, and I think it's very important, right? Here's what Charlamagne said. We're about to experience what I'm going to call the great disconnect, and the advantage will belong to voices that feel unmistakably human. Now, this rise of AI is so interesting, right? I myself went from fascinated to, oh, look what all it can do, to be like, hold up, what all is it doing right now? It's really interesting, and a lot of people are now, they're either drawing a line in the sand, they're embracing AI, they're replacing themselves. A lot of people have a lot of different feelings about AI, the damages of it, the beauty of it. But one thing is for certain, its impact on trust and believability. Now, Charlamagne is talking about predicting a future that's happening, but it's already here. We already have people who are graphic designers by trade, years in this world, where they'll post some of their work online and people are rushing to the comments to call it AI slop. And then we also have, I saw this on Threads. We see people who are promoting their ebooks and boldly claiming that, oh, yeah, excuse any typos, AI wrote all of this. And they're selling it without peer review. It's, we are already in this era of distrust. You know what's really funny too, right? The whole thought of like whether or not we could believe what we see online is because we all grew up, well, depending on what generation you're in. I grew up hearing from people that say, don't believe everything you see. And we have quickly, as social media become more dominant, as content's become a bigger part of our lives, we've have started to look to online spaces as the source of truth. Now, this is bigger than AI and bigger than content creation, right? When we're looking at the future of media, I really do believe that everything is going to be about trust, both as content creators, but also as leaders who are looking to make decisions about where they're going to do business right now to prepare for the future. Now, let's take a step back from AI and content for a second, right? I want to talk about numbers and this economy. So, the US has remained the largest media market at 553.06 billion in 2025, but discretionary spending on media dropped just to 2.4%. Now, this means that there's still lots and lots and lots of money being spent in the US, but people making purchasing decisions are starting to be a bit more selective. They're starting to only spend on things that they need and from voices and brands that they trust. If you really want to increase sales in an economy where consumers are starting to be a lot more selective about how they buy and what they buy, you need to help people feel more confident about their purchase, and that comes from trust. Now, how does that work? So, back to that Charlamagne quote, right? The rest of that quote was, the advantage will belong to voices that feel unmistakably human, something that radio at its best has always delivered. Now, this is a biased take because Charlamagne is in the radio business. That's his space, but there is something really interesting about that, right? Radio as one of the last standing frontiers as a source of like humanity. Like there's no question that it's a human on the radio airwaves. And podcasting, while there's a lot of AI podcasts being generated right now, is still a human frontier. Matter of fact, legacy media brand MS Now has super invested in podcasting. They're starting to see it pay off. And it's really interesting which podcasts in particular they're starting to talk about right now. So they've inked a deal with a podcast called Pod Save America, which is a very long running show. and it has a whole reputation of being real and authentic and questioning a lot of the status quo. And another podcast that they just launched is called The AI Endgame. And it's all about seeking to tackle a lot of important questions around AI, a lot of concerns, and kind of bringing more information to the people as there's a lot of uncertainty and discomfort with this whole rise of AI and this whole distrust. Now, what's very interesting about what MS Now is reporting is that they shared that they've had more than 9.8 million audio downloads of its shows. Even with this rise in video, audio is still a big play. Kind of speaks to the whole radio thing, right? Audio is not dead, even though video is rising. But what's even more interesting is that these two shows help to place MS Now as a source of trust and comfort for a lot of listeners, viewers, and advertisers are going to take note of that because MS Now is basically showing that, hey, we're not just a place where you can trust that we're humans. We're also trying to understand this whole AI world and sharing with you as well. So while everyone's chasing AI efficiency or seeing whether or not AI can replace them, there's a lot of companies that are taking an even bigger bet in the human experience. And that could actually be what makes you competitive in the future. Live experiences, live content. Not only will humans crave it even more, you'll be able to charge a premium on that. While AI is devaluing a lot of the creative work and production that goes into creating these digital platforms, it also increases the value of it as well. It's like a yes and type of thing where a lot of people are investing in AI because it's cheaper than human labor, but that means the human labor is now a lot more expensive because there's a lot of things that AI could do incredibly well and it's improving every single day. But I still crave the human experience. So, what does this mean? Brand decision makers, you really got to rethink your whole influence strategy. It's not just about reach, it's not just about numbers, it's about measuring trust. And we've seen companies like MS Now podcast downloads jump because they're investing in that trust and credible voices. So whether it's TV, radio, YouTube, podcast, social media, influencers, it's very important to evaluate trust. Now, for creators, what does this mean? It's not just about chasing views and reach anymore. Your value as an influencer can be measured based on how people feel about you and the engagement. So instead of views and impressions, well, not instead of, because it's still important to keep that in mind, but start measuring trust. That could come from shares, comments, and ongoing engagement. So not just about the number of comments, but how often did that one person come back to comment and comment again? Start to keep note of people you start to, the familiar names that show up in those notifications. It's not about tracking that person. It's just about keeping track of how many familiar names you could think of. That's become more important as AI continues to rise. I think that trust is like the word of the day today because I think that we're in an era where it's the ultimate currency. And I hear people talk about attention all the time. I think Gary Vee has talked about it more than anyone else, but I truly believe that trust is just as important because attention, it comes and go. Trust, that's long term and much more valuable. But once again, the real question is, will this great disconnect that Charlamagne is predicting, will it have a huge impact? Will a rise in authenticity become more valuable than everything else? Or will AI continue to do its thing and will everything else crumble? Honestly, only time will tell, but we could pay attention to the patterns and breadcrumbs that I see right now. My name is Walter Gainer II. This podcast is the future of media. I pay close attention to everything that I see and I like to share it with y'all. If there's any topic that you're interested in or concerned about, leave it in the comments if you're on YouTube or Spotify. If not, there's a link in the description where you can share whatever you're paying attention to or concerned about. I would love to tackle it on an upcoming episode. Thank you for listening, for watching, for tuning in. This podcast is in partnership with Black Pod News, and I cannot wait to share the next stories that I'm paying attention to you. I'll talk to you soon.